Okay, there's the friend saying that they were in a tough spot because they had to go dark and all of these the security issues. But then on cross, you notice she threw it out there. It was all Nick said, Nick said. Let's bring in John Day, criminal defense attorney. He's in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Happy Friday morning to you, John. Appreciate your time. The case that you can feel the defense is setting up this Jim McIntyre defense, that they were in fear and that the real killer is this ominous sort of force that is Jim McIntyre. How do you think this witness and then even the parents of the decedent here, how do you think they have done in terms of setting up that this guy over here is a liar? He is full of it. He lied about this, 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 and this.
Right. Ted, good morning. Thanks for having me. What you're seeing is a sort of a classic SODD defense. Some other dude did it, but they're also doing that in the framework of this intense paranoia and delusion, and the idea that there's somehow Mindy is in the center of this web of lies and deceit, but the idea that the defendant somehow created this world of paranoia and people are after us and we have to have a security detail. And it's really a delusional world that she got caught up in. And of course, in the eyes of the prosecution, because the defendant is a former prosecutor, he has 2 law degrees, a former officer in the Navy, a lawyer for the Navy, a prosecutor, that he has some special knowledge about how to create this this world, and a special knowledge of how to take care of the murder to get to what he wanted, and also how to clean up the scene and how to avoid getting detected. So the jury has in their minds the idea that this guy, according to the prosecution, has special knowledge, special powers, and that's how he took care of cleaning up this murder and how he avoided being apprehended for so long.
If he is just full of it, the defendant, as it appears from the layman that I am at my spot here, he has been successful in getting people into his world and his world of deceit. You could see it in these latest witnesses. Is this a guy that could maybe convince a juror that he's telling the truth about Jim McIntyre?
Well, they're pointing the finger at this mysterious guy, this mystery guy, supposedly an FBI agent, the name Jim McIntyre. And it depends on how good he is at this. I want to remind you that there was another lawyer who was at the center of a murder ring. It's a guy named Ted Bundy. So, lawyers who are accused of murder don't have a very good track record. But at the same time, the prosecution wants to make sure the jurors are going to have in the back of their minds, look, this guy has prosecuted these kinds of cases. This guy knows crime scenes. And he's also very adept at manipulation and creating this delusional world that Mindy gets sucked into. And she's even telling her close friends what's going on. He has a security detail. I haven't met them, but we have to be on the run. Our lives are in danger. The prosecution wants the jury to think this guy is so calculating and so manipulative that he could create this world, and he's also capable of a murder.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating if and when he does take the stand here. John, stand by. When we come back, the next witness has been in the defendant's web. It's Nick Casotis' 3rd wife, who he married 4 months after the murder of Mindy. Stay with us. Back with more after this. All right, John Day is still with us. John, you can tell that she has been lied to as well, and now it's witness after witness are sort of telling very different stories, but the same theme, and that is that this guy over here is a liar. How effective for the state is this run of witnesses?
Very effective. So this witness, through the prosecution, is sending 2 messages through this witness, one unsubtle and one subtle. The unsubtle one is, look how deceptive this defendant was. Look at the lengths he would go to create this web of lies that sucked this woman into. He eventually marries her. But the subtle message that the prosecution is sending is she could be the next victim.
Yes, absolutely. If jurors get to that point, then the defendant gets even more scary. And it could get to the point in this trial where putting him on would be disastrous if indeed that is the overwhelming feeling. How do you, as a defense attorney, monitor a trial, monitor a jury while you're still, working the trial with a big decision to make. Because in this case, I think there is a real chance that he takes the stand, given the Jim McIntyre story. How do you deal with that, and to what extent do you take clues from jurors?
Right. Well, this would be fascinating if he took the stand, because the prosecution's painting this picture of this incredibly smart, manipulative, deceptive guy, like 2 law degrees, former prosecutor, a JAG officer. And so the prosecution wants the jury to think this guy is so smart and thinks he's so smart and can pull off a murder based on his experience as a lawyer and as a prosecutor. But the defense ultimately is going to have to back up the Jim McIntyre, the mystery guy story, because they've thrown it out there. And how do they put those pieces together? And that's a tough one, because the jury, if he takes the stand, which of course, the defense conventional wisdom is your client does not take the stand. If he takes the stand, every juror is going to have this whole book of the prosecution story of the lies, the deception, the web of deceit. And they're going to be watching his testimony, if he testifies, with an incredible amount of skepticism and cynicism. But at the end of the day, the picture painted by the prosecution is this guy is a master manipulator. He gets the sweet woman on board, marries her. He has this whole history of lies and deception that she actually does some checking on him, but it doesn't catch in the eyes of the prosecution what really lies underneath this, which is a guy who's evil and manipulative.
Yeah, well said. And then she does seem very sweet, this witness here, and she could have been his next victim. That, I think, is very powerful to think about as well. John Day, as always, thank you. Enjoy your weekend. We appreciate your valuable time.